Is this the time to buy gold or to sell it? I'm not giving investment advice. I'm not urging anyone to buy, and I'm not urging anyone to sell. I'm simply stripping this story down based on personal experience from someone who has lived through enough market cycles long enough to understand one hard truth. What destroys investors isn't volatility, it's confidence at the wrong moment. We are standing at a historic juncture. Gold is trading in the Fort 780 to Fort 850 per ounce range, an all-time high. Many portfolios are glowing green. The feeling of being right, the feeling of safety, the feeling of this can't go wrong is spreading fast. On Wall Street, this is the most dangerous moment of all. When an asset keeps making new highs, the crowd asks, how much higher can it go? Professional money managers don't ask that. They ask one question only. What is the cost of holding this asset from today forward? The answer isn't on the chart. It sits in a macro variable that most retail investors only notice after the damage is done. Real interest rates. From the perspective of institutional capital, gold is not a wealth creation asset. It's a shelter used when the monetary system is under stress. Gold produces no income, no rent, no dividends, no coupon. The only return comes from price appreciation, which means gold's greatest enemy has always been opportunity cost. Real rates are nominal rates minus inflation. When real rates are negative, holding cash is a guaranteed loss. When real rates turn positive, holding gold starts to look expensive. During the recent inflation surge, real rates were deeply negative. Bank deposits were losing value. Bonds became capital destruction machines. Capital was forced into gold for protection. That pressure is what drove gold from the $2,000 area to nearly $5,000. But that backdrop has changed. As we move into 2026, the balance has shifted. The U.S. 10-year Treasury yield is hovering around 3.75%. Inflation has cooled to roughly 2.7%. Real rates are back in positive territory, above 1%. This is not a headline number, but it's the number that forces large asset managers to rebalance portfolios. For the first time in years, institutional investors can earn positive real returns without betting on price volatility. 1% real yield, scaled, stable, repeatable. For large capital, that's paradise. And the question becomes brutally practical. Why continue holding an asset sitting at historic highs where the margin of safety is shrinking when you can lock in real yield through safer instruments? Smart money doesn't panic. They don't sell out of fear. They sell because the capital efficiency equation has changed. This isn't a stampede. It's rotation, taking profits where prices have run too far and reallocating toward assets with better valuation and real cash flow. So back to the original question. Should you keep buying gold at these levels? From a risk management standpoint, the answer is no. Buying gold near all-time highs in a positive real rate environment is like picking up loose change in front of a speeding truck. The remaining upside is limited, 5, maybe 10% in a best-case scenario. Meanwhile, the downside risk from a large capital shift can easily be 2 or 3 times that. The risk-reward ratio has turned against you. You're paying a very high price for the feeling of safety. So when should you sell? Not when markets panic, not when the headlines scream collapse. You sell when everything still looks good. You don't need to exit entirely, but this is an appropriate moment to rebalance. Think of your portfolio like a football team. Gold is the striker who played every minute of the first half and scored heavily. But conditions have changed. The field is heavier. The tempo is different. A good coach substitutes before the player collapses, not after. Gold has fulfilled its historical role in the inflation cycle. But financial markets have no room for blind loyalty. The shift of real rates from negative to positive is a fundamental red light. No technical indicator warns earlier than this. Every day that passes under these conditions, gold's appeal erodes a little more. I'm not telling you to buy or sell. I'm showing you how large capital is reading the board. Seasoned investors don't buy at the top. They sell to latecomers, while the story still sounds good and the music is still playing. There's a brutal truth that gold dealers will never tell you outright. Gold is not a moral asset. Gold is not loyal. Gold does not stand for peace or growth. Gold is a master opportunist. Gold doesn't eat bread or drink water. What feeds gold is fear. What makes gold fat is instability. When guns fire, gold jumps. When borders close, gold grows. When heads of state threaten each other on social media, gold gets repriced. without producing a single thing. Let's face reality. Gold trading around $4,780 per ounce in early 2026 is not the result of intrinsic value. Most of that price comes from something invisible but extremely expensive: a fear premium. You buy gold because you're afraid war will spread, afraid of a US-Europe trade war, afraid the global order will collapse. The problem is this: professional investors do not invest on the assumption that fear lasts forever. They ask one cold, emotionless question: what if the world doesn't collapse? When the shooting stops? When handshakes happen behind closed doors? When deals are signed before the media even understands what happened? That's when gold freezes. And here's the uncomfortable truth that has to be said: peace is slowly returning. And that's bad news for anyone still clutching gold like a life raft. On Wall Street, there's a rule that doesn't need debate: buy the rumor, sell the fact. This rule isn't philosophical, it's about survival. The rumor phase dominated the second half of 2025. Gold ran from the 3,500 area to nearly $5,000. What were the rumors? 200% tariffs, tensions in Greenland, aircraft carriers moving, shock headlines pumped out daily. The crowd reacted exactly as expected: fear, flight to safety, buying gold at any price. That's when smart money was already deeply positioned. As we entered early 2026, we shifted into the fact phase. No drama, no gunfire, no war. Just dry headlines no one wants to read. Preliminary agreements reached, tariffs delayed, resource rights shared, conflicts diffused. And this is where the crowd always gets it wrong. Good news doesn't always push prices higher. For gold, good news is what kills its upside. Today's price already reflects the worst-case scenario. When that scenario fails to materialize, the excess price has to disappear. Smart money doesn't argue. They sell. Not out of panic, but because the equation is finished. According to valuation models that exclude war scenarios, gold's fair value sits far below current levels. That gap is the fear premium, and it's evaporating day by day. If you're holding gold right now, you're making a very specific bet, whether you realize it or not. You're betting that peace fails. You're betting on chaos. That's an extremely expensive wager, especially when most geopolitical cards are already face-up on the table. The Greenland situation was never the start of a war. It was negotiating leverage. In global politics, crises are often manufactured to extract concessions, not to pull the trigger. Power brokers don't live on emotion. They live on incentives. And the incentive of 2026 is stability for economic recovery, not a war of attrition. When agreements are signed, geopolitical risk doesn't vanish, but it drops from extreme to manageable. Safe haven capital starts to leave. Productive capital starts to return. Trade, logistics, and industry revive. In that environment, gold is no longer a hero. It becomes excess inventory. History has shown this repeatedly. When US-China tensions cooled in 2019, gold corrected sharply. History never repeats word for word, but it always rhymes. And the rhythm of 2026 is de-escalation, not confrontation. So why are so many people still holding? Not because of data, because of psychology. You're trapped in bunker mentality. Algorithms keep feeding your fear. Videos, headlines, and doomsday forecasts convince you the world is about to collapse at any moment. Gold becomes a symbol of that safety. Holding gold makes you feel smarter than the crowd. But from a long-term investment perspective, betting on the collapse of civilization has never been a winning strategy. Those who bet on growth always go further than those who bet on the apocalypse. Today, the world is still functioning. Goods are moving. Capital is still searching for returns. Holding gold now is like staying underground after the war is over. You're safe, but you're out of the game. Finally, look at the risk equation. If everything blows up again, gold might rise another 10 to 15%. If peace holds, the fear premium can evaporate 20 to 25%. That's asymmetric risk, and any rational investor avoids trades like that. The world is exhausted after a long inflation cycle. Major powers need recovery, not conflict. Political incentives are tilting towards stabilization. Holding gold now is swimming against the global geopolitical current. Gold has finished its job during the panic. But geopolitical adrenaline fades fast. When the rush wears off, the hangover arrives. The wise sell rumors to dreamers, and they sell facts to latecomers. You made money from fear in 2025. Don't let 2026 take it all back just because you refuse to leave the table on time. As someone who spent enough time on Wall Street to watch financial empires collapse overnight, I've never focused on price. Price is bait for beginners. Price is the hook. What I watch is market structure and intermarket relationships. That's where the truth lives. Naked, unpolished, and unforgiving. And what I saw on January 23rd, 2026 was not a buying opportunity. It looked more like a crime scene waiting to happen. The clue lies in a metric that 90% of investors completely ignore: the gold-silver ratio. In the precious metals world, this ratio is the canary in the coal mine. It doesn't sing when everything is fine. It sings when the air turns toxic. The ratio tells you how many ounces of silver it takes to buy 1 ounce of gold. Over the last 50 years, its historical equilibrium has hovered between 60 and 80. When real crises hit, people are afraid. They don't speculate. They seek shelter. They buy gold and ignore silver. The ratio spikes to 90-100, like it did in 2020. But when markets enter late-cycle euphoria, the story flips. Gold becomes too expensive. Silver turns into the last casino chip on the table. Speculative money floods into silver, chasing a final burst of returns. Today, the gold-silver ratio is sitting around 49. That's not normal. That's a red alert. It tells you one thing: silver is outperforming gold at an unhealthy speed. Capital has left safety and rotated into higher risk, trying to squeeze the last drops out of the cycle. Financial history doesn't argue. In 1980, when the Hunt brothers cornered the silver market, the ratio collapsed to 17. What followed was 2 decades of gold's clinical death. In 2011, the ratio dropped toward 30. Gold printed its historic top and then fell apart. Anytime the ratio breaks below 50, it is not a buy signal. It's the death certificate of a supercycle. This market is no longer defensive. It's drunk on blood. Right now, gold looks like an old man trying to keep up with a young, sprinting silver. The old man doesn't win. He collapses. And when silver turns, as it always does because of its speculative nature, it will drag gold down faster than a snapped elevator cable. If you're still not convinced, look at momentum. I don't need fancy indicators to impress anyone. RSI alone tells the whole story. Gold price is making higher highs. That's what the crowd sees. RSI isn't. The latest high is lower than the previous one. That's weekly bearish divergence at an all-time high. In institutional playbooks, this is a textbook short signal. Think of gold like a car climbing a hill. The price is still inching upward, but the accelerator has been released. The car is moving on momentum alone, not engine power. Buyers are exhausted. Capital has been spent. Everyone who wanted to buy already has. All it takes is mild profit-taking or a neutral macro headline, and the car rolls backward downhill because there's no support left. Volume confirms it. Price breaks highs, but volume doesn't expand. On COMEX, volume is far lower than when gold was trading around $4,000. Whales don't buy breakouts quietly. If they were buying, volume would explode. What you're seeing is distribution. Inventory being fed slowly to late buyers afraid of missing the train. This is exactly what Wyckoff called an upthrust after distribution. Price is pushed slightly higher to trigger stops on early shorts and lure the final buyers in. If you're buying because you see a resistance breakout, you are the liquidity someone else is exiting into. Finally, let's talk about the $5,000 number. Round numbers are lethal traps. The entire world is waiting to sell there. Market makers know it. They see the thick wall of orders around $5,000, and they're not stupid enough to push price higher just to help you take profits. The familiar script is this: price stalls around $4,900. The crowd keeps hoping for one more push. Then the market turns. No bounce, just air. And you become an accidental long-term gold holder. In investing, the smart sell before the top forms. The foolish die trying to gnaw the last piece of bone at the end of the cycle. In 1929, just before the U.S. stock market collapsed and dragged the world into the Great Depression, Joe Kennedy sold all his stocks. Not because he read some brilliant macro report, but because of one tiny detail. A shoeshine boy, crouched down polishing his shoes, casually whispered 3 high-potential stock tips. Kennedy understood instantly. When a shoeshine boy is talking about stocks, the market has run out of buyers. Everyone who can buy has already bought. And when there's no one left to buy, it takes only one seller for everything to collapse. Now lift your head and look around you in January 2026. The Grab driver taking you to work, eyes glued to his phone, is watching gold charts. A coworker who couldn't tell a bond from a stock is now asking seriously, "Do you think gold hits 5,000? I'm thinking about pulling my savings to buy a few tails." Facebook and TikTok feeds are flooded with gurus barely 20 years old, flexing gold profits, flashing accounts, and calling for all-in bets. That's not strength. That's the end stage. When people with no financial background, the final wave of retail, rush in out of pure FOMO, smart money has already stood up, folded their chairs, and quietly exited through the back door. The media, meanwhile, is doing exactly what it always does. They never predict the future. They reflect the past. When headlines start screaming, "Gold to $6,000, the golden age of metals," remember one brutal rule: good news is released to sell. The media lives on clicks. They write what the crowd wants to read. When the crowd is drunk on gold, they glorify gold. If you invest based on headlines, you always arrive at the party when the alcohol is gone and the music is about to stop, and the only person left at the end is the one doing the dishes. Bitcoin in 2021 played out exactly this way. Real estate in 2022 did too. The script never changes. Media hype, retail euphoria, whales quietly distribute, the market collapses, then the same media turns around and asks, "Why did this asset crash?" At prices around $4,780 an ounce, you are not buying gold for intrinsic value. You're buying because you believe a bigger fool will buy it from you at $5,000. The buyer at $5,000 believes someone even more foolish will buy at $5,500. This chain only works as long as there's always a next fool. But when the driver, the neighbor, the office worker, everyone has already bought, who's left? No one. At that point, one large sell order is enough to send price straight down. No bids, no liquidity, no mercy. In poker, there's a ruthless rule. If after 30 minutes at the table you can't identify the sucker, then you're the sucker. We already have every piece of the puzzle. Technicals show extreme overbought conditions and bearish divergence. Macro no longer supports higher prices. Geopolitics is deflating the risk premium. The gold-silver ratio is flashing collapse, and crowdology is euphoric to a dangerous degree. No further justification is needed. I'm not telling you to liquidate everything and run. I'm telling you to do what very few people manage to do near the top. Realize profits. Take your principal back. Regain control. If you want, let profits run, but never go all in where everyone believes it can't crash. The difference between an investor and a gambler isn't predicting the exact top. It's having the discipline to leave the table when the game no longer offers an edge. Sell while there are still excited buyers. Don't wait until the entire crowd is trying to squeeze through the same narrow exit. The rest, the market will teach, very expensively. If these perspectives help you stay clear-headed in a noisy market, subscribe to Trading Mindset Lab, not for signals, not for hype, but to train discipline, thinking, and survival-level market awareness. Leave a comment below. Are you watching? Have you taken profits? Or are you still holding a position? I read comments to understand crowd psychology, not to tell you what to buy or sell. And before leaving this video, you must read this risk disclaimer. All content in this video reflects personal opinion only and is provided for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes. This is not investment advice and not a recommendation to buy or sell any asset. Financial markets involve significant risk. You may lose part or all of your capital. All financial decisions are entirely your own responsibility. Always consult a licensed financial advisor before investing real money. Any figures mentioned are illustrative and based on hypothetical scenarios. Real markets can change rapidly without notice. Subscribe if you want to survive long term. If you're looking for adrenaline instead, the market is always ready to teach its next lesson.